a recurring guest on this week's episode, my amazing friend, Megan Huber, who is the community building queen. And in this episode, we're going to dive into how to reignite a completely dead Facebook group and how to leverage the power of community for growing your businesses.
Before we dive in, let me tell you about the book that started a podcasting revolution, Make Every Podcast Want You. It is not just a bestseller, it is a 2-time gold medalist, baby. This book is your ultimate guide to landing dream podcast interviews, building authority authentically, and making your voice the one they remember. If you've got a message and a mission, this is your mic drop moment. Grab your copy today in the link below and step into the spotlight that you were born for.
Welcome to the Crown Yourself podcast, where together we build your empire and transform your subconscious stories about what's possible for your business, body, and life. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, founder of crownyourself.com, and I'm a master mindset coach, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, known to my clients as a game changer. Each week, you get the conscious leadership strategies you need to help you reign with courage, clarity, and confidence so that you too can make the income and impact you deserve. Imagine this podcast as your royal invitation to step into your full potential and reign in your divine purpose. Your sovereignty starts here, and your reign is now.
Megan, welcome to the Crown Yourself podcast. Welcome back.
No, I mean, is this round 2, Kim?
This is
second time? Okay.
last time it was like back in 2020 or something, maybe 2019.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Well, we are long overdue for a part 2. I'm glad to be back, and I love you so much. So I'm excited to just jam out with you and let's see where we go.
So you ignited your Facebook group. Like I met Megan, just a little back history, because I was enrolled in another coach's program back in 2017, right as my son was being born. Like I literally signed up a few months before he was born. And then the program continued, but you were one of the coaches that this other coach had brought in. And I was like, I really resonate. I like her. We jam. Like we met a few times in person. And what I've seen from you is just a level of consistency in an industry that has so many fluctuations. And we went through like the 2020 boom of coaches, and then the 2023, I would say, like recession of people closing their coaching businesses. How has your community been this foundation that you've been able to just even reignite?
Yeah. It's so true how it's changed so much over the years. So if you're listening to this and you've been in the game for, I'd say, like 10 plus years, you know exactly what we're talking about here. If you're new to the game and like you just entered it recently, like you have no idea. But some of us have been doing this for a long time, and we used to talk about the OGs, and Kim, now we feel like the OGs. I said that earlier today. I was like, I'm literally an OG now. That means I'm old. But yeah, community. We can go in so many different directions because it's so fascinating when you use the word consistency, because I'm thinking over here in my head, I'm like, well, I have some stories to tell about I've probably been inconsistent at times too, which we can go into all that. But look, at the end of the day, I think the number one thing is relationships, because it's not like I've had the same Facebook group community since I got started in 2011. I think I've had over 50 different Facebook groups, but this one particular Facebook group really has been the one that grew the second iteration of my business starting in 2017. Just to kind of back it up a little bit, so the listener understands, I started my first coaching business in 2011. Then I left that coaching business in part-time in 2013 and then full-time in 2014. And I became a full-time team member of a very fast-growing coaching company, very large scale, where I was running all the programs, creating all the programs. I was very front-facing, built a whole lot of relationships, left at the end of 2016, came back into my own business in 2017. And one of the questions, I don't ever really get asked this question anymore, but probably up until around 2021, 2022, so a good solid 5 years, probably the number one question I was asked is, how did you build your business the second time around in 2017 so fast? Because I went from zero to almost 500,000 in 11 months. And I tell
Well
people
done.
all the time, that was built on relationships,
Mm-hmm.
100% built on relationships. So if you're listening to this, and look, it's true, the longer you're in the game of entrepreneurship, your company's going to go through iterations. You're going to probably start different businesses, possibly. You're going to have other ventures. Your business is going to evolve over time. Your business model might change. Like, things are going to fluctuate and change. I mean, just listen to that little bit of my path. Like, coaching business, work for somebody, coaching business again, and it's changed multiple times since 2017. But at the end of the day, how do you come back on the scene? How do you start something from scratch? How do you start and grow like a second company? And how do you do it? Look, I'm not saying anybody's going to be able to do this overnight, because you're not. But what you can always stand on very firmly, it is just look back in your history over the last however many years, and have you made relationship building a priority? If you have not, it is going to take longer, and it is going to be laborious, and it's going to be a whole lot harder than it has to be. And what I love so much about community, and because community really is your ability to build relationships with people and your ability to connect other people together so that they can build relationships with each other. If you don't have that, you kind of aren't going to have a business if you don't have relationships. Everything really is built on relationships.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of people still, even to this day, get into the online world thinking, I can just click a button and people will magically come to my website and show up because I'm on the internet. And I think that is such a myth, because the principle of relationships in business is one of the core principles that I would say has stood the test of time since the dawn of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's true. You can always return back to your relationships. When I rebooted my business in 2017, like, that's an example of tapping into relationships. I was able to grow fast. And I tell people when they ask me that question, like, how did you build so fast the second time? Because my first coaching business, I made like $8,000 my first year in 2011. So let's just like get into reality. So the second time, people are like, how'd you do it so fast? I'm like, because I spent 7 years building relationships. 3 of those years, I sacrificed my own business to go work for somebody else, where I also continued to make a name for myself and a brand for myself and build relationships with people. So there's also a lot of sacrifice involved, and you don't ever know. It's not like you have this like calculated approach to building relationships. You don't ever know when they're actually going to pay off. And you also don't know how they're going to pay off. It could pay off in the form of clients, or it could be partnerships or collaborations or introductions or invitations. There's so many different avenues you could go with relationships, but that is how I built so fast in 2017. I just tapped into the seven years prior of relationships that I had built. And you know what I did? I picked up the phone. And I called people. And then let's fast forward. I changed my business model very drastically from all the group coaching and all the masterminds, and I shifted to a consulting model. So, okay, again, there it's like, okay, all that income is going to come to a close because now you're pivoting the whole model to consulting. That was in early 2022. Well, I also had to make up the financial difference. Well, guess what I did? The whole first year of acquiring consulting clients, you want to know who they were? They were people who I already had a really good relationship with. They were friends of mine in the industry. They were colleagues. They were peers. A lot of them came from my own peer group in the mastermind I was a part of. And you know how easy it was to make those sales? I didn't have to go out and hunt them down. They were coming into my DMs. Why? Because they trusted me, because they knew me, because they knew my work, because they knew I would deliver something really high caliber. Okay, let's fast forward again. Now I'm rebuilding the coaching business, which I started rebuilding in October 2024. I still do the consulting, but I started rebuilding the coaching business in 2024. Guess what I did? I went right back to that same Facebook group that I started in 2017 that built my whole coaching business. And I pressed the unarchive button. And it had been sitting there dormant for 2 years, totally dormant, totally dead, no action at all. And I opened it back up and I walked back in there like no time had passed. And it took about 30 to 45 days of pure consistency and enthusiasm and connection to really reignite that group. And now we're like 55 clients in since rebooting that. Okay, that didn't happen because I'm better than anybody else. I'm not more special. I think there's very few things on this planet I actually can sit here and have a conversation about. Like, you ask me to do anything else and I act like an idiot. Just ask my husband and I'm like, I have no idea. But like, talk to me about what I know and like, that's it.
Yep.
I was able to do that because I have relationships with people. That's it. That's it. That it's happening because I have relationships with people and, using your word, being consistent. That's it. That's what it built on.
When you think of relationships, I think one of the places that sometimes gets people hung up is that transition of the relationship into being a sales or mentorship relationship is that pivot where there's a know, like, and trust factor, but there's also a leadership factor. Can you speak more to that shift in the conversation, whether it's on an energetic level, on an emotional level, on a, hey, I see you're struggling with this problem that just so happens to be something that I am really skilled at helping people with for money. There's a lot of people I know in my community that do have that fear, limiting belief that comes up around really claiming and owning that space of what they do well for money.
That's such a good question. And I think we all kind of feel that way a little bit. So let's normalize that feeling, because we all kind of have like the heebie-jeebies when it comes to, I want to ask somebody to work with me and I want to tell somebody like I can help them. I certainly would put myself in that camp. Certainly put myself in that camp. And I mean, I am very introverted. Know that if I am not like conscious about this, I can also come across, especially like in the DMs, I can come across as like almost a little too direct. I can come across almost like a little too forward and just like get to the point without like warming somebody up. And I know that about my personality.
That's me.
So I have to really like kind of pause and ask myself some questions. So I know I have that tendency, and that tendency is not going to go away. So I've really struggled with this, what you're asking, over the years. And here's what I have found that works really well for me. Number one, look, I mean, all of us are using social media as probably like our primary way of growing our business. I know we have podcasts and we have other things, but still, social media is like front and center for all of us. So I think number one is it's looking at your social media platform. It is no longer for personal use. It is no longer for personal consumption. It is 100% a business tool, and you are 100% using it as a way to get clients. And when you shift that perspective, not only are we not here for me to share information just to keep my friends and family abreast of what's going on, but I'm also not a passive, just personal consumer of what is on social media. And that's a hard one to do, because we all like to sit here and scroll and just like consume cool things and funny things and just kind of zone out a little bit. I mean, I'm guilty of that too, especially late at night.
Yeah, I totally have apps on my phone to prevent me from doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. We all have this tendency. We all have this like almost addictive pull to just go scroll around and be mindless for a little bit. You know, I think it kind of lets our mind quiet a little bit in a way, because it's always on. And you really do have to shift that, because you've got to come from this place of, I'm here for business. And when you tell yourself I'm here for business, then the way you're coming across in your presence online and in all of your content, whether it's video, audio, or written, you're coming from a very different place, so that the audience knows, they know what you do and they know why you're here and they know you have a business. There's a lot of people on social media that if we went to their social media profile right now, you wouldn't really know if they had a business or not.
Oh my
And that's a
gosh, I love that
problem.
you brought that up.
That's a problem, right?
Yep. Because one of my best friends, Amanda Kaufman, who I know you know as well, like she went into a community and was like, let's just see how many of these amazing business women actually, if their profiles are really a match. She's like, for a lot of them, I wouldn't know that they have a business. And I've done that with even some of my clients. I look at all of their profiles. I'm like, how are you showing congruence that it's not like Instagram's where you post your weird stuff or like the things you're interested in, or Facebook is more for your friends and family, or LinkedIn is like this buttoned up professional. There's a know, like, and trust that comes from social media when people see a congruence across all platforms, because that's what makes a congruent brand. So I
Yeah.
love the fact that you brought this up, because a lot of people, especially on Facebook, which I know is like your main place, that space is really one that a lot of people stay in a personal space with. And I'm like, no, that can be one of your best spaces for building, especially your first clients, because people know, like, and trust you as a person before you
Yeah.
have a personal brand.
Yeah. So, and the reason why I started with that as number one is because when you are coming forth with that presence, you feel less slimy and weird about transitioning into that sales conversation, because you know that you're being very, very front and center with it. And if these people are friends of yours or followers of yours, and that's all you're posting about, like, they're going to know, at least to a degree, that you have a business. They may not know exactly what you offer, they should, but at least they know you have a business and who you serve. I would say the second thing, and again, I'm sharing from a place of what's really helped me, because this is an area that I do not feel like I was very strong in. And I still feel like I have a ways to go to feel really confident and strong in it, you know? So, number two, I do have a Facebook group. So I'm going to share a strategy that you can use when people are a new friend of yours, a new follower of yours, or they are a new member into your Facebook group. Just so everybody knows, I do have a Facebook group. It is largely how I built my business, and I teach people how to do this as well.
And it's amazing. I highly recommend you join. That link will be in the show notes. So go click and join Megan's Facebook group. She is the master of building communities.
Yeah, just be a fly on the wall, like just see what happens in there. So the second thing is tell people immediately. Well, so tell them okay, so you're probably like, where do I tell them that? Get into the DMs with people immediately. So when someone requests to join my Facebook group and I accept them in, they get an immediate DM from me. So I'm sending them a personal message.
Is that automated or is that a voice message?
You can do either one. So I don't do a voice message for the first message. It is written, and you can either manually do it, or, I mean, look, if you don't have that many people joining your Facebook group every single day, like, just do it manually.
Yeah.
Or you can have something like, I use a platform called Group Track. It's Group Track CRM, which is a CRM specifically for social media. And you can set up automated messages and pipelines in Group Track. And so when you click the link for someone to be accepted into your Facebook group, it's almost like Group Track is like this overlay on top of your Facebook, and you accept it and all their information goes into Group Track. And then you can set a tag, and then it sends off that welcome message. And then you can set up other pipelines. I really like at a certain point, like once somebody's really responding to you, I like for the human to take over and have that conversation with them.
I think it has to, because otherwise it comes off as this robotic dissociate. Like, I think to a degree, everyone kind of assumes that, especially if you're interacting with someone, oh yes, I know this person is a business person.
Yeah.
Most likely the first touch points are probably going to be a more automated, at least for me. Like, I always do my best to make them still sound like me.
Mm-hmm.
I pour my energy into those automated messages, is what I tell my team. Like, I'm like, let's just pour like the love, the cheering, the champ emojis and the crowns, and like, let's shower them with love. But it's, of course, it's not me. It's an automated message for that first one.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't really have the volume where I need to do that, then don't worry about it. Like, start manually. We all started with everything manually and a spreadsheet and whatever. Like, you got to be where you're at.
Yeah. You can easily copy and paste from a notes that you save on your phone to make it just a little easier. So you're not typing. You can copy and paste rather than typing each one new. So it does save you time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So send them a DM immediately. And then you can do the same thing as someone friend requests you on your personal profile and you accept it. Or if you get a new follower on Instagram, or if you get a new connection on LinkedIn, it doesn't matter. The message I'm going to tell you, you can use for all of those. So, but the key is you want to send an immediate message to people. So it's a 3-part message. And part 1 is, hey, so-and-so, welcome to the Structured Freedom Inc. Facebook group community. Super glad to have you here. Okay, that's part 1. If it's not your Facebook group, just reword that if they were like a friend on Facebook. Part 2 is 1 to 2 sentences. And in part 2, you're literally telling them exactly who you serve and how you serve them. So you're saying, I help coaches, course creators, and experts, blah, 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 blah. Right? So I'm going to say exactly what I do and the results you're going to get and what you don't have to do to get the result. And then the third part of this message is ask a pre-qualifying question. And everybody's pre-qualifying question is going to look a little different. And also just know that you can change what this pre-qualifying question is over time, because you may discover oh, there's a better question I could ask. I'll tell you what mine is. I ask people, what is the number one way you're getting clients right now? And then in parentheses, I put word of mouth, referrals, content, etc. So let me give you some tips on this pre-qualifying question. A lot of people, when they run their question by me, it's not a good question. And it's not a good question. I'll tell you why. It's not a good question because the question is making the receiving person think too hard to even answer the question. So it needs to be a question that, yes, is going to help you pre-qualify them to start to see if this is somebody who might be able to use what I have to offer. Maybe they could learn something from me. It needs to be a question I could answer it in 2 seconds or less if I'm receiving the question. And kind of think of it this way. It's sort of like a this or that. Are you this? Are you that? Are you a woman or a man? Are you short or tall? I don't have to think twice about that. How do you get clients? From the DMs or word of mouth? And when people respond to my question, 90% of the response is they're getting clients word of mouth or referral. And I'm like, well, if that's what they're relying on, then they need what I have to offer, because that's not going to get them where they want to go. That's great, but it's not going to help them reach their next level goal. So there you go. Why am I spending so much time on this? Because you asked me, how do I transition into the sale? We feel icky, weird, and all the things because we're not actually starting the relationship on the right foot. And so immediately, and that person knows that you are a business owner, that you are here to do business. Everybody is on the same page about who you serve and how you help. And right there on message number 1, if they're like, okay, I don't even want to talk to this person, they can bow out right now, and you're not asking them this confronting question. And so I'll go ahead and tell you the next step. They're going to respond and they're going to answer the question. And you might have a couple of follow-up questions, but the idea is just to get them talking to you and just get into a back and forth. Your goal is to figure out what is a resource that I have that would be super useful for this person right now, just based on what little they're telling me. And so I think of something that's inside my Facebook group. Typically, I want it to be a video because we know that people need to consume us for 4 to 7 hours before they make a buying decision. 4 to 7 hours, not 5 to 8 touches, 4 to 7 hours. So
I love that you brought up that statistic.
And that's a new one. That's a new one.
That makes so much sense, given the fact that when I look at all of my private clients, every single one of them has consumed, binged this podcast. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest things as to why this podcast is one of the greatest client conversion tools, is because I don't expect someone to hop on a call with me and from not knowing me to suddenly oh, they're going to drop a couple thousand, as in 5 figures, end up on coaching. I know that there's going to need to be multiple touch points, whether it's $100 into our program, into our membership, or something higher. They have to have that consumption of awareness. So I love that you're directing them to a video. And I think one of the cool things that I love about your intro message is I always like to equate it to to dating, because if you go on a date and you're thinking like, is this person the one? And they're like just looking to like mess around, you're very clear with your boundary of like, this is what I want out of our relationship. This is what I'm looking for. If you're not it, then that's fine. But maybe this could go somewhere. And I love the qualifying question because that could be something really simple of like, are you, for relationship coaches, it's are you single or are you in a committed relationship? For I know we have some astrologers in this community, so it could be like, have you even been in like looked into astrology? What's your experience with it? So it's not a qualifier as in like a sales qualifier initially, like
Right.
are they qualified to buy? Do they have the funds? Do they have at like all of those other qualifying questions that you look for later on? It's just that initial, like, are they even a fit for this community and for the way that you serve people?
Yes, exactly. So you get them consuming something very, very quickly. And again, yes, the ultimate goal is that they're going to buy from you and they may not, which is totally fine, but you're trying to solve their problem, right? So you're trying to give them value. And value is something that people can get a quick win from or a result from, right? So we're not sending them to something that's like a big sales pitch. I mean, my videos are 45 minutes long inside my Facebook group.
Yeah. And they're fantastic.
If you've got a podcast and not a Facebook group, your podcast episodes are 30 minutes to an hour probably. So, it's really amazing things. And so going back to your question, your original question, like how do I know when to transition into that, make that offer? So here's kind of like phase 3. You want to do a lot of conversion events, whether that's master classes or it's some version of a launch or it's a workshop or it's just your live stream. Now that you're engaging with these people, you want to keep engaging with these people. So that DM conversation doesn't stop. You invite them to other things that you have going on that are free value. And it could be as simple as something like, hey, Kim, not sure if you saw, but I'm hosting a workshop on blah, 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 blah topic. If this is something you might want to attend, let me know and I'll shoot you the link. It's just very conversational. So then they come. And then if they come, and so you're just like paying attention to their behaviors and you're paying attention to what they're saying yes to, what they're showing up to. Obviously, in things like workshops and master classes and launches and conversion events, you have a pitch. There is a pitch that's happening. So then it becomes very easy to slide back into their DMs and say, hey, Kim, just curious, are you thinking about joining Super Community? I would only say that to you though, Kim, if I actually saw that you attended my event. If you didn't attend my event, I'm not going to ask you that because I don't even know if you consumed my event.
Yeah.
Right. So you see where you're using value and you're using you teaching things and helping them solve their problem for free to be engaging with them. And then based on if they're coming, if they're not coming, if they're kind of asking you questions, they're giving you signals that's letting you know this person might be interested or not. And I always just kind of give them an out and myself an out. I might say things like, no pressure. I might say things, you might be. I might say, don't know if you'd be interested or not. So it doesn't feel like this, my gosh, like she's making me say yes, or like she's making me feel like I have to buy something. And then for me, it makes me feel like I'm unattached to whether they say yes or no, because I don't even know, like, I don't know if they're going to say yes or no. So it's just things like that. You're never just going into the DMs with someone who you see lurking around just to ask them to buy from you. That's not how we're doing it.
That's not how to get high quality sales either. And the key is quality. And I heard Layla Hormozi on her podcast gave a statistic, and I think it's somewhere between 60 to 80% of people who buy under pressure and like falsified urgency and things like that, they end up regretting their purchasing decision, which makes them not actually have retention or attention throughout the program because they're stuck in almost resentment toward themselves. So I too have always used having a nice out and mine is very simple. It's like, whether we work together or not, I'm cheering you on.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you choose to, continue doing, whether you choose to join or not, I'm cheering you on. You can do this without me. We might grow a little faster with you doing it with me, but whether or not, I fully believe in your success being 1,000% possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, it's understanding timing. And you can understand timing so much better when you are building a long-term relationship with someone. And that's one of the places where I think times have really changed in not just our industry, Kim, but just in the marketplace in general. Look, you and I have been around for a long time, pre 2020, and even in like 2020 and 2021. You could very quickly convert somebody without spending all this time building a relationship with them. Like the number of times you and I and our friends and colleagues and peers have experienced like somebody coming into our DMs and saying like, I listened to this, I saw you here, sign me up, here's 10 G's.
Client and two messages. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
But that was 2020.
Yes, it was happening. And it was happening in the 20 teens,
20
like
and
it was
20
happening then
like
too.
that boom in the coaching industry. And I think the coaching industry as a whole buyers have gotten so much more savvy. I think more people are aware of coaching, more people are aware of bad coaching and the lack of strategy or support. And almost it's coming from a Hollywood background, like from, 4 lifetimes ago. I see a lot of the same similarities in the coaching industry as in the visibility that comes with coaching and more influencership like I did in Hollywood versus those who are like, I truly love this art and I want to create film because I love creating art.
Yeah.
And I think that there's an art in getting people results. And I love the fact that your continuous circle back is always, how can I solve their problem?
Yeah. How can I solve their problem with the value that I could give them access to right now? And it's not behind a paywall. So we were talking about timing, right? So back in the day, what we were just saying, it was almost like hard to tell what the right timing was because people were just buying. And then because you have that behavior, then you almost feel like you could just go straight into somebody's DMs and like sell them immediately without building a relationship with them. Nowadays, you can't do that. Are you still going to have your rare, random people who come through and the minute they see you, they buy from you? Yeah. But we can't build a whole business that way anymore. You used to be able to do that. So now I think we do feel a little cringy sometimes because we don't know when it's the right time to ask someone to do business with us. Well, of course, you're not going to know if you haven't been building an ongoing relationship with that person. So I would really encourage everyone listening, take the approach of like, I'm going to play the long game with these people and I'm here to build a long-term relationship with this person. And if it takes them a year to buy from me, then I'm going to spend a year putting myself in front of them consistently. And I'm going to spend a year getting to know them. And I'm going to spend a year helping them get quick wins and solving their problem with whatever I have out there that's free. My podcast, everything in my Facebook group, all my Facebook lives, my workshops, my masterclasses, my launches, like my email list. There's so many things out there that you could get for free and you could literally go implement it and start getting results. I mean, you could go implement that welcome message and you could start getting results right now just on that welcome message. You didn't have to pay for this podcast episode. You know the timing to invite someone because you know you've been catching the signals they've been putting off, but you can't catch the signals if you're not in the DMs building a relationship. And the game today really is in the DMs. Very much so it is in the DMs. I make almost all my sales in the DMs. So what's behind the paywall? The other thing that I've kind of noticed has changed, and this was a very interesting experience for me because when I came back on the scene to launch my own coaching in October last year, which was not that long ago, I picked up very quickly. I was like, whoa, I'm like behind on what has changed to sell coaching because selling consulting to people making tens of millions of dollars is a little bit different than selling your coaching packages. It's just different. And I was like, whoa, the message I had before, the way I went about all this, like it has changed and I've got to figure that out fast. So the other thing I noticed is that people are not nearly as likely to just buy your $20,000 group coaching program or your $50,000 mastermind that they're signing a contract for 12 months. Like it's just not happening the way that it did before. I'm not saying people aren't buying those things. They are buying those things. And I even launched a beta group coaching program. I hit my goal with it, but something was still very flat about that. And so I realized people nowadays, you said it earlier, like people are more experienced and they're more savvy and they're a much smarter buyer than they were 5 years ago. They're way more sophisticated. They are way more discerning. They are vetting us a whole lot longer, but they still want to do business. So I came up with something that was $97. And, for you to get like the systematic step by step, this is how you do this one thing. And it just focuses on one little thing, one result for them to get. It's easy to use. It's easy to say yes to. It's not passive. I am front facing with those people in there, but it has been, I don't ever like to use the word easy, but I mean, when I launched that kind of honestly on a whim, because I just wanted to see, and I just sort of literally blurted it out on a live stream. 7 people purchased in 24 hours. And within a couple of weeks, 35 people purchased it in just a couple of weeks. And so I was like, okay, this is like people almost need to test drive you. They need to test drive something. They're test driving you with their dollars, and they're test driving your style, and they're test driving your ability to create curriculum or coach them or kind of boil your methodology down into this very simple, very doable, step by step by step by step, so that not only can they consume it, but they can literally turn around and they can do it easily for them and then get a pretty quick result. That builds trust almost overnight, right? So if you can get somebody in for a little bit of money that's easy for them to say yes to, that you don't need to get on a sales conversation for, then you're deepening the relationship even further. And then it's almost like solidifying for people like, you're my person. Because if we can jive like this and I can understand you and I like your style and all those things for this smaller amount of money, then, and I mean, I had people asking me what's next. And they were only in for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been the biggest change I've seen since I came back on the scene with the coaching in October.
Yeah, the test driving. I noticed that too when we launched our membership is I just continuously had multiple people coming up and saying, "Oh, I would love to work with you." And there was like this hesitation of like, well, when I'm ready, when I'm financially there, when I'm successful enough. And that experience, I was like, well, what if I just lowered the barrier for entry so that people could get that test drive and get the results that they're looking for and start moving that needle forward so that they then jump into my higher price programs. Not only that, but as a business owner, it's a smart business move to have something sustainable that's a recurring revenue model.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that way you're not relying on getting that big giant sale. You are from a referral that you're hoping you get. You're really actively building something that has stability in it, that has certainty in it, so you can have predictive revenue.
Yeah. And something a little bit lower price point where you are involved with the delivery of that. I'm not saying it needs to be this like massive heavy lifting, but when you're involved, it becomes a very easy way for the people in the offer to make referrals because they're not referring somebody to something that's going to cost $1,000. Because that does play a role in in your clients' minds. They know they paid $1,000 to be in your program. And a lot of people have a block to tell others about it and invite them in because they're entering into the other person's money story.
Yep.
Without knowing it. And so then they feel really bad about inviting someone into something that's going to cost a lot of money. So if it costs, something that's kind of a no-brainer offer, that's a very easy way for people to make a referral. So I've certainly noticed that. And look, I'm somebody who's never done lower ticket until now, ever. I had never sold anything except one other time, way back in 2017. I sold something that was $597 and I only sold it one time. Ever since then, everything else I've sold is $5,000
plus
or higher.
Yeah.
And certainly my consulting was even as high as 100K. So I'm not used to this lower ticket type of thing. And here's the key with the lower ticket that neither one of us has said that I think is important to share. Where the lower ticket has changed nowadays is it's not a lower ticket that's for people who can't afford your higher ticket. We're not talking a downsell here. We're not talking about go create something for all the people in your community who can't afford your high ticket. Because the key is we want them to enter into this lower ticket. I call it the hero offer. I got that from Sarah Blakely.
I love
I got it from Sarah Blakely because I read a post of hers on Instagram, and she was saying, every year I always tell my team to use their intuition and creativity and figure out which one of our products is going to be the hero offer. And in this particular post, she was talking about 2019 when she came out with the faux leather legging.
those are phenomenal.
It was the first thing I ever bought from Spanx.
Same.
First thing I ever bought.
I love
Then you're
them.
hooked. Well, then you're hooked.
Yeah.
Then you buy another pair. Then you buy the other color. Look, they've got a ton of products.
Yeah.
Like they've got probably thousands of products, but they definitely have hundreds and hundreds of products. But the hero offer is like the front door that gets you in, and you love it so much. And she even said in her post, your hero offer has to almost have a cult following. And the faux leather legging in 2019, it had a cult following. And when I saw that, I was like, okay. Well, I bought that faux leather legging, and then it kind of gets you into the other thing. So this offer that we're talking about, it is an offer that you want the people in it to upgrade to the next level, but they need to be candidates for the next level. But again, people are holding on to their dollars, not necessarily because they don't have the dollars. It's not that, because I'll tell you, Kim, the number one objection I hear now isn't money, it's time. It's time. I don't have enough time. Yeah. And you must hear it too.
Yes. And as someone, what I've seen just consistently over 17 years of being a business owner, and this has happened I remember that this even back in my Pilates business, like it was, I don't have the time to work out. I don't have the time. And that it wasn't about the money. It is about the time and what they perceive the time will cost them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that same thing, especially when you're marketing to your $1 million client, not downplaying your marketing for the people who can't afford your products and services and making something really super efficient for those people. You are continuing to market to that ideal client who is your $1 million client. When you're in that messaging, then you're technically, it's a downsell. It's actually more of an invitation. I love how you frame it as a hero offer, because it's that intro of like, let me get the amuse-bouche. Like, let me taste the restaurant. Let me see if I like the food before I commit to a full fine dining experience. Let me have the taste tester. And then that way it allows people who could pay the opportunity to see, will they get a result? And that's why I think more so than anything has changed, I think the number one thing consistently in the industry is results. Because I think a lot of people in 2020 and 2021 especially paid for a lot of coaching and didn't see actual tangible results. And I'm not saying that with coaching, sometimes the results, they come, they're delayed. Like there's a lag time, but it's the principles, the systems, the structure, the strategies that were put into place. And it takes about 3 to 6 months for those to take into effect. But are you also maintaining the relationship beyond the scope of that payment? I think that's also a big piece too.
Yeah, that's a huge piece. And this hero offer that we're discussing, it really is something that's for almost everyone in your ecosystem. So, I have had past clients I worked with 6, 7, 8 years ago come back in through that. This is really important. I've had current clients in another program buy it. I've had people who have been sitting in my Facebook group community since 2017 buy it. I've had colleagues and peers who are more successful than me buy it. I've had people with 200-person, $20,000 masterminds put their team in it. I've had people bring referrals in after week 1. I've had people hear me as a guest on a podcast, come in, watch one video, and buy it. Okay, take note, listener, because that's everybody in your ecosystem. And that's what we're talking about. It's like this does have to do with community as well, because you're kind of you're creating something that almost like keeps your whole community together in a way. And the other strategic move I made with this particular offer, it was $97 for 60 days. Now it's 2 payments of 97. So I just doubled the price recently. I don't have a separate community for those people. Their community is the public Facebook group. I say public Facebook group. It's private, but visible. It's not hidden.
Yeah.
So there's tons of people in there who've never purchased anything from me ever before. I just didn't create a separate place for those people to go, which is kind of a good move because, again, what starts to happen is those people really become leaders inside of your free community. And so they end up on their own without you asking or prompting them. They kind of start leading your Facebook group. They're the ones, they're posting in there, they're sharing their wins, they're telling other people to buy it. I mean, it's really incredible what happens. And that was a bit of a strategic move on my part. But what it did is it didn't separate the community from buyers and non-buyers. And it's like the people who are in this $97 offer getting really great results, it's showing something to all the other people. It's very, very inspiring. It's motivating. It's showing other people what's possible. And it almost creates this, like, because I'm kind of watching it happen. I mean, it's June 25th at the time of this recording. I launched this in like towards the end of April. And it's been really cool. It's definitely taken on an identity. I feel like I'm borderline creating a movement, but it has certainly taken on an identity. And I think that marketing and selling in this like identity type of way is also something that has shifted in the marketplace. And if you can create an identity for your community, people are kind of like locked in for a long time.
100. That breakthrough, like, because I just was looking at and reflecting on our community with the collective that we created, and the identity that I really was conscious of focusing on was taking courageous action every week. And as a leader, that requires me to step boldly, even more boldly, into my purpose, into the choices, into how, all those acts of courage, whether in business or in personal life as well. But that identity of being the courageous victor, the one who chooses to step forward bravely into the arena on a daily basis, like that is an identity that resonated with my community so much, of being that conquering fear and slaying those dragons versus just kind of other language that I'd used in the past in past programs. Because I've had lower ticket programs that almost hit the mark. Like they almost made it. Like they had a good amount of people in them, but they weren't hitting on that identity piece. And I think that this shift, what you said specifically, of making sure that hero offer really delivers and drives with identity first. And what is that desire? And it goes completely against other forms of marketing from like a decade ago, of like the fear-based, false urgency, scarcity sort of mindset. Now, I think the great thing about marketing from the space of identity and leading with identity is you're leading from desire, which is so powerful.
Yeah, I call the people who are in my hero offer community wizards. And I'll tell you where I got that idea. Look, I can't give myself credit here. I called the program Super Community, which, by the way, because some people might be thinking like, oh, like I didn't sit down. Most of this was not like premeditated. So it's not like I had in my head, I've got to create this low ticket offer. I've got to figure out what it is, blah, blah, blah. Like that was not the process. I knew something just felt flat to me with the group coaching program and me continuing to sell. How do you transition from one-on-one to a group and launch a group program and fill it? That is my expertise. And I did fill the beta group, but there was something about the message that was just not resonating. And I kind of had like this uh-oh moment. And I think it was because of that like, uh-oh, what am I going to do moment that led to me really analyzing and evaluating what in the past has always prevented any of my clients from not being able to successfully launch and fill their group coaching programs with enough people, or not being able to do it over time again and again and again. And I thought, okay, well, what have I done to do it? I started a Facebook group. A Facebook group built my whole business. What's a Facebook group? It's a community. I always had a group of people who were ready to buy from me. Always. Always. I was never launching to the ethers. I was launching to a group of people I had a relationship with. And I was like, oh my gosh, my clients never really did that. They never spent time to build these long-term relationships and get people into a place where they feel like they belong and build this relationship with them so that when they go to sell and launch their programs, they have a ready to buy community. And so I was just kind of thinking of that. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I just wrote down ready to buy community. I started making posts about it for like maybe 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
On my personal page, I had like this massive number of people who were all over it. And I was like, okay, I struck a chord. And then I thought, I'm just going to go do one of my weekly live streams on this topic. And about 50 new people joined my Facebook group to get access to that. And I was like, okay, I'm on to something. Then I was thinking to myself, I used to work with Michael Burnoff, and Michael Burnoff had a program that I was in called Superhuman. And so I was thinking of that. It entered into my brain and I was like, super community. I'm going to teach people how to build a super community. And then I was like, what did he call us? He called us all wizards. And then I was like, I'm going to call my people community wizards. And all of that came through in like 5 seconds. So then I'm on the live stream and I'm like, I'm just going to pitch it. And I had nothing, Kim. I had nothing. I had to go scramble and build a payment link to send to people. And I had 7 people buy. So I'm sharing that because it's not like we have to sit here and like force stuff out of ourselves. I just figured out what is the problem before the problem I was solving in the group coaching program. I wasn't teaching them the right way to build a buyer ready community. So I just took that little piece out. And then that's the only thing I teach in super community. That's the only thing I teach, is the only thing I talk about. It's simple. It's step by step. That's what we're talking about, this hero offer. And they feel like a community with an identity of being community wizards, which means they see themselves as community leaders. And they have this belief that they can go do this too, because it's so simple to just go do it. And then again, that just creates this, everything else that we've talked about on this show today. It's like this, you're building this like community ecosystem. But again, like I want to be really clear with people. I wasn't sitting here with a pen and paper, like trying to shove that out of myself. I was just
Trusting
really
your
willing.
intuition.
And I was just really willing to follow it. I was really willing to take action on that just to see if it would land. And it did.
Amazing. Megan, you are just like, I think that was a masterclass, not only in community building, but in really leveraging and leaning into trusting yourself and your intuition and those little intuitive nudges that say, go do this. And when we started the collective, like that was the same thing for me. Like I had a little intuitive nudge of like, I would like to have, and it came from desire. It came from a space of, I'd like to have more certainty, and having enough conversations within 1 week of saying, okay, people want to buy from me, but they're not yet in the space. Not that they're not ready money wise, but they're not yet. They're wanting to have a taste, and they don't know what they're buying unless they fully get that taste and are in the space. So let me just create that. And within a week, created. And it was just like that. That ability to be the quick start is such a skill set as an entrepreneur. Speed of implementation is so key, and you just proved that to a T. I'd like to switch to just a second of rapid fire because I know you have your own podcast to head off to. So what is your money routine?
Money routine?
Your money routine.
What's a money routine?
It could be that you meet with your bookkeeper monthly. It could be that you sit down with your bank account on a daily basis to just like bless it.
Okay, got
What
it.
those weird little money things that you do are specifically around money, because that's where our community is struggling with growing and courage the most.
Track everything. I am super old school, so don't come to me for anything AI. I'm very old school. I love a spreadsheet, and I track. I know every single category every dollar goes to, and I look at that. I probably should do it more often, at least once a month. And it's sort of like you're balancing it out to make sure I'm on budget. I have my P&L. I know what comes in for the month. I know what the expenses are on the personal and the business side. And I love to see it in a spreadsheet.
Love it. And Megan, how do you crown yourself?
How do I crown myself?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. What does that mean?
Whatever you want it to mean.
Okay. Okay, well, what's coming to me is you'll love this. I love my family so much. I love Brighton and Sean so much. And I feel like when I get to make breakfast for them, or like when I get to go play in the pool with Brighton, she's 14 now, or we get to have a movie night, like to me, that's like me crowning like wife mom. Like I get to be wife, I get to be mom, and I get to enjoy like these really simple moments. I mean, that just brings me so much joy.
Amazing. Megan, how do we find you? How do we listen to your podcast? And how do we join Super Community?
Yeah. So my podcast is called Built to Last. Kim, you've been on it once, at least once, maybe
I
twice.
think twice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so twice. So if you're a podcast listener, go find me at Built to Last. If you're on Facebook and you're not in my free Facebook community, come in. It's called Structured Freedom Inc., the community for coaches. So come hang out with us there. There's tons of value. And when you're in there, you can hear all about Super Community and find all the links to join and all that good stuff.
Amazing. Megan, thank you so much for coming back onto the Crown Yourself podcast. I think everyone can benefit from the value that you gave today. No matter what your business model is, you will need a community to back it. No matter what industry you're in, you need a community to buy from you. So go forth, jump into Super Community, enjoy, like I have for years and years, Megan's content, because she is phenomenal and she breaks things down in a systematic way that is beautiful to observe, model, and follow to get really quality results. As always, my fellow sovereigns, own your throne, mind your business, because your reign is now.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If what you heard resonated with you, be sure to subscribe and start creating a bigger impact now by sharing this with a friend. Just by doing that one simple act of kindness, you are creating a royal ripple to support more people in their sovereignty. And if you're not already following on social media, connect with me everywhere at crownyourself.now for more inspiration. I am so excited to connect with you in the next episode. And in the meantime, go out there and create a body, business, and life that rules. Because today, you crown yourself.